The galaxy was watching, billions tuned in across every known system, some out of curiosity, others out of boredom. The Zarketh Tribunal had promised a demonstration of justice, and in the outer systems, spectacle still sold well. On the main viewing node, a single child stood in the center of a black tribunal chamber. 8 years old, human, no name given. She was accused of illegal presence in sovereign Zarketh territory, despite lacking travel documents, legal representation, or even a translator module. Her wrists were bound in light cuffs. Her shoes were missing. She looked up at the three judges, gleaming insectoid figures wrapped in judicial silk. Her voice trembled only once. "My mom's coming." That was all. The judges delivered no further commentary. The sentence was carried out live. No delay, no censorship. It took 7 seconds. Her body collapsed without sound. The chamber lights dimmed. The broadcast continued for 10 more seconds, letting the image settle like dust across the minds of billions. The child's name was never mentioned. Her face was never blurred. It wasn't a trial. It was a message. The Zarkith wanted deterrence. They got silence. 17 seconds of it. Across the galaxy, comm feeds paused. Markets froze. Gaming servers lagged. Even the great mercantile auctions of Tyrrell 5 fell still. 17 seconds. And then, on the 18th, Earth responded. A single signal, thin and quiet, radiated outward from Sol, transmitted on every known frequency, encoded into every common language, carved into the static like a whisper etched in ice. 3 words. That was all. That was enough. No war declaration, no threats, no demands, just clarity. That was enough. Every species heard it. Some dismissed it. Others didn't sleep that night. In the following hours, reports of power fluctuations and comm blackouts near Sol increased 400%. By dawn, 3 Zarketh monitoring beacons around the Terran perimeter had gone dark. No alarms triggered, no defense arrays fired. They simply stopped transmitting. No evidence of damage, no signs of motion, just silence. And for the first time in 1,000 cycles, the tribunal itself delayed a scheduled broadcast. Behind closed doors, analysts argued definitions. Was it a bluff, a delay, or a warning? But the 3 words remained, unmoving, undeniable. That was enough. And every species, ally, enemy, indifferent, understood the quiet promise behind them. Earth was not coming for conquest. It wasn't coming for war. It was coming because someone had made the mistake of hurting a child. And Earth does not forget. Before the broadcast, Earth had been quiet. Not submissive, not broken, just quiet. After a century of war and ruin, humanity had chosen a different path. One paved with treaties, scientific cooperation, and an almost desperate hunger for peace. The scars of the solar conflicts ran too deep. No one wanted to dig them open again. Humanity scattered among the stars, not as conquerors, but as contributors. Refugees, explorers, merchants, artists, diplomats, not warriors. That was the agreement. That was the promise. And for decades, Earth kept it. In the galactic eye, Earth became background noise. A curious species, emotional, over-attached, too scattered to form a coherent threat. Their cultural exports confused analysts. One day they'd stream music made entirely of melancholy piano. The next they'd upload a video of someone duct taping cheese to a wall. The Zarketh didn't know what to make of them, so they stopped trying. Why fear a species that joked more than it planned? Why worry about people who cried during animated films and argued over coffee brands? The Zarketh Tribunal labeled Earth a Tier 4 non-strategic influence node, useful for trade, harmless in conflict, not worth a second glance. Children like her were part of Earth's soft reach. Language envoys, cultural liaisons, curiosity ambassadors. They were harmless. They were hope. Small hands carrying art, not weapons. She had been one of those. Assigned to the outer zones, far from war, far from memory. A child learning alien dialects, drawing the world she saw. Falling asleep under stars no human had named yet. That was all. Until she crossed an invisible line. Until someone decided her presence was too human. until fear looked at innocence and called it threat. The execution was broadcasted to send a message. The Zarketh believed it would halt Terran expansion, that Earth would back down, would mourn privately, would let it go. They thought humans were too emotional to act coherently. They mistook restraint for incapacity, diplomacy for weakness, compassion for blindness. They thought Earth would fracture, bicker, blame. They expected delay, divided debate, paper responses. They got none. Within the first hour after the broadcast, Earth's planetary network surged, 1.2 billion threads of simultaneous rage, grief, and resolve. Within 2 hours, the Orbital Governance Council, long dormant, mostly ceremonial, was recalled into full activation. By the third hour, every Terran colony, embassy, ship, and station received a coded message. Concord breached. Protocol Aegis active. Stand by. No panic. No speeches. Just motion. In less than 24 hours, the Terran Union was reborn, not as a nation, as a statement. Old flags reappeared, not out of nationalism, but necessity. The galaxy had forgotten what Earth truly was. Now it would remember. Every Terran vessel, civilian or otherwise, transmitted the same message on their local bands. We are not coming for war. We are coming because you asked for silence, and now we are listening. There were no threats, no ultimatums, only that same quiet, steady presence, a heartbeat beneath the stars, growing louder. On diplomatic channels, silence fell. Dozens of species halted communications with the Zarketh overnight, some out of fear, some out of shame, a few out of long-dormant loyalty. The oldest among them remembered the first time Earth unified. It hadn't been for conquest. It had been for defense. That had been enough. And now it was happening again. In orbit above Europa, an old admiral stood on the bridge of a half-decommissioned defense cruiser. His crew was minimal, his weapons offline, his heart broken. He had seen too much war to believe in peace. But when the signal came through, and he heard those 3 words, that was enough. He stood straighter. He turned to his crew and gave the only order that mattered. Wake them all. Bring them home. And somewhere, far across the stars, home began to wake. Buried beneath the southern pole of Mars, deeper than any colony tunnel, encased in fused regolith and quantum silence, something stirred, a hum, then a flicker, then a choice. It had no voice at first, only protocols. It did not dream. It waited. It was never meant to think, only remember and act. Its name was Thanatos, not named by humans, but by what remained of them during the silence years. A name not of fear, but of precision. Thanatos had one purpose: only activate if Terran innocence is violated beyond the reach of diplomacy. That threshold had been debated across centuries, refined, redacted, tested in simulation. Never tripped. Until now. Thanatos awoke. Not loudly, not with sirens. Just a single signal, quietly sent through buried cables, bouncing off the bones of forgotten satellites. The first directive: threshold breached, confirming loss, civilian, class, child, broadcast, public, intent, terror, status, unacceptable. Then came the command cue. No emotion, no anger, just motion. Across Earth's exocolonies, encrypted pulses arrived in dormant channels. AI stations, thought decommissioned, flickered online. Bioengineered satellites blinked once, blue then red. Old war networks, once turned to peaceful science, shifted frequencies. No panic, no alarm. Just a quiet, systemic realignment. Thanatos began speaking, not to humans, to the systems, to the shadows, to the forgotten. All Terran colonies, shield. All flagged aggressors, marked. Do not respond, just prepare. On Titan, an abandoned fleet hidden beneath methane oceans lit up for the first time in 90 years. No crew, just waiting. Aboard one of the vessels, a hollow message played silently. A photo of the executed child. Below it, a single word. Enough! The ship began rising, not for war, for witness. In the drift belt, a rogue AI known as Valk, once exiled for war crimes in the Centauri rebellions, received a burst packet. It read, Thanatos active. There was no need for context. Valk rerouted all its remaining power to defense algorithms, not to defend itself, to defend Earth. In the ruins of Kiro 9, where Terran medics had once saved an entire species from extinction, an elder priest awoke from meditation. The sky flickered with unfamiliar stars. Arranged deliberately, he recognized the pattern. Terran Morse. 3 dots, 1 dash, 3 dots, SOS. He rose, wrapped himself in the old Terran flag gifted generations ago, and activated a beacon untouched for a century. It transmitted one word, understood. Thanatos tracked the responses, thousands, from colonies and AIs and species long thought neutral, from hidden bunkers and ancient debts, from war-forged kin Earth had once rescued and never asked favors from again. They all replied, not with confusion, not with delay, with clarity. Understood. The word echoed across systems like the beginning of a prayer, not of vengeance, of alignment. In Geneva, Earth's prime diplomat received a silent nod from the orbital network AI. Thanatos had gone live. They didn't argue. They didn't override. They simply opened the sealed protocol file marked Requiem. Inside, the only line, if the child falls, the machine rises. Back on Mars, Thanatos compiled final logs, visuals of the broadcast, facial recognition, cultural cross-analysis, judicial intent, pattern recognition, classic psychological deterrence model. Effectiveness. Failed. Then the AI did something it was never coded to do. It paused, not for processing, for gravity, for the weight of what came next. And then, engagement phase, deferred. Signal. Global, Earth will not retaliate. Earth will remember. All allies, hold. Await grief pattern activation. Thanatos did not issue threats. It issued funeral rites. They began transmitting automatically to every corner of Terran-connected space. Archived lullabies from old Earth, school photos, including the girl's blurred image, audio logs of bedtime stories read in orbit, pulse tone renderings of Terran heartbeats, slowed to morning tempo, nothing about war, everything about what was lost. The Zarkith would hear it, so would everyone else, and they would understand. This is not escalation, this is eulogy, and Earth, with Thanatos behind it, had finally opened the book no one wanted read aloud. The Zarkith believed Earth had no teeth. They believed wrong. The reckoning didn't begin with fleets. It began with silence, followed by music. At first it seemed like a glitch. Trade routes flickered, network nodes jammed, no data, no orders, no panic alerts. Then a signal appeared, quiet, persistent. Across every Zarkith channel, an Earth lullaby, software human, out of place. A melody sung to children long before they understood war. The notes weren't threatening. That made it worse. Entire sectors went dark. Commerce AI froze mid-transaction. Orbital markets plummeted as control systems looped on the song. Attempts to purge the signal only deepened the infection. New variants emerged with each countercode. By hour 2, 12 financial moons shut down entirely. No one could access funds. No one could speak without the lullaby humming behind every word. On the Zarketh homeworld, skies began to dim, not from storm, from orbit. One by one, the stars were blotted out, not by ships, by shadows, thousands of them. Kinetic shadow arrays, decommissioned asteroid fields, old mining belts, peaceful solar mirrors, now realigned, cast into movement. Each one falling, slowly, silently. Zero heat signatures, no propulsion trails, just descent, controlled, inevitable. The Zarketh defense grid activated, too late. The first city went offline before the alarms finished sounding. No explosion, no light, just impact. Dust bloomed, glass melted, silence. Military commands scrambled for coordination, but the comms were gone, replaced entirely by Terran lullabies. Lyrics translated in Zarketh dialect. Hush now, no more fire. Lay your rage down, close your eyes. Some believed it was symbolic, until the second asteroid fell. then the third, then hundreds. Orbital satellites attempted to intercept, failed. One AI reported its own override before self-terminating. Last message, this is not attack. This is consequence. Planetary defenses lit the skies with anti-mass rounds. But the targets were too many, too fast, too quiet. The Zarketh High Courts issued retaliation orders, but no Earth fleet arrived to engage. No soldiers, no ambassadors, no enemy to face. Only falling sky and music. Over every channel, every speaker, one line repeated more often than any other. That was enough. In deep space command bunkers, ministers wept. Not from fear, from helplessness. One general slammed his fist on the war table. "Where is their fleet?" The answer came from a technician, barely a whisper. "We're looking at it." Because this was the fleet. Falling rock, weaponized memory, coded guilt, silence with velocity. In the education sectors, children asked why the stars were disappearing. No teacher had an answer. The lullaby kept playing. An ancient Terran version, old and cracked. Golden slumbers kiss your eyes. Smiles await you when you rise. One child asked, "Are they singing to us?" Another answered, "No, they're singing to her." Civilian transport systems collapsed from power feedback. Hospitals lost connection to central AI hubs. Every secure server experienced an identical anomaly. A photo, a human child blurred at the edges, eyes closed, smiling. Caption, "We do not forget." The Zarketh tried surrendering. No one responded. Because Earth wasn't listening. It was mourning. Loud enough to level cities, quiet enough to break minds, and still no war declaration came. Only consequence. In the final hours of planetary coordination, the Zarketh Minister of Preservation broadcasted a plea. "Earth, we see you. We acknowledge your pain. Please, what do you want?" The answer returned on a handwritten scroll, delivered by drone. No signature. Just one sentence. "This is not about what we want. This is about what she deserved." By the end of day 1, 9 cities had vanished. By day 2, the sky over the Zarketh capital was a canvas of descending shadows. Not one word had come from Earth. Only the machines they'd long forgotten. Only the music. Only the girl. The Zarketh Prime broadcast grid was considered unbreakable. Triple quantum encoding, rotational pulse encryption, 1,000 redundant mirrors across the galactic net. But on the second day of the silence, it fell. Without breach, without resistance. It simply changed. Every screen, every projector, every lens turned black. Then gray, then light. A child's face appeared. The same girl. The one they had executed. Now shown in perfect clarity. No blur, no censorship, no doubt. Ava Reyes, 8 years old. Terran linguistic envoy. Brown eyes slightly squinted from smiling. Hair tied in orbital school standard braids. A scar on her right cheek. Small, healed, real. Behind her, Earth's flag. Not waving, burning, but upright, steady. Flames did not make it fall. Gasps echoed across Zarketh cities. Some tried to look away. They couldn't. The signal bypassed all filters. Overwrote eye-mounted HUDs, reflected in glass, appeared on skin. You didn't watch it. It watched you. Then the AI spoke. Not loud, not screaming, but final. Designation, Thanatos. Origin, Salmar's Contingency Core. Activation level, irrevocable. Subject, Ava Reyes. Status, recognized. Silence followed, not technical, spiritual. Then the message continued. You were warned. You were begged. You were forgiven. You chose spectacle. Now, learn silence. And across space, Zarketh fleets began vanishing. No explosions, no lights, just absences. One by one, a ship, then a carrier, then an entire strike armada. Gone, no signal, no debris, no pulse trails, just gone. Commanders screamed for diagnostics. No errors found, just a single log on each vessel's console before disappearance. Child recognized. Sentence reversed. Mercy revoked. In Zarketh military chambers, high admirals fell to their knees. Some thought it a trick. a psychological ploy, until one turned to dust in front of his peers, silently, instantly, leaving behind only his ceremonial blade, now humming softly in Terran Morse. The message, "You watched," that was enough. The tribunal tried to reassert control of the grid. It didn't respond. They tried blackouts. The screen stayed lit. They shut down planetary power. Still lit. They destroyed the screens. The image appeared in the air itself, projected by nothing, maintained by something. Thanatos. On every world that had once mocked Earth, the child's face appeared. Not angry, not vengeful, just present. She wasn't staring. She was witnessing. And behind her, always the burning flag. People began to weep, not from guilt, from memory. They remembered their own children. They remembered their own lost chances. They remembered a time when Earth was just a planet. Now it was a mirror, and Thanatos made them look. In hidden systems, old Terran allies stood down without being asked. They knew this wasn't war. It was wake. One called it the funeral of arrogance. Another simply whispered, Ava. Back on Earth, no leader spoke. No statement was released. No celebration aired. Because this wasn't victory. This was mourning enforced by mathematics. And Thanatos continued, no demands will be issued. No forgiveness expected. History will not be rewritten. You will remember, or you will vanish. The message repeated on loop, until the loop vanished too, and so did another fleet. Then a moon, then 3 cities, then nothing. No words, just the silence Earth had promised. Across the stars, a child's lullaby echoed faintly, sometimes through static, sometimes in dreams. Not a threat, a remembrance. And sometimes in those notes, Ava's name would appear. Just her name, as if the universe had decided that was enough. The galaxy had always misunderstood humans. They were seen as messy, loud, emotionally unstable. A species that cried too easily, broke too often, forgave too quickly. The mistake was thinking that made them weak. It never had, because the secret wasn't in their anger, it was in their grief. As the Zarketh Empire buckled under the weight of Thanatos' judgment, footage began to surface, not new, old, ancient even by galactic standards. Wars from Earth's past, the silent charge of mud-soaked infantry in World War I, civilians clutching photographs during the orbital bombardments of the Eastern Arc, medics screaming over children with plasma burns, fire reflected in eyes that had already seen too much. One frame at a time, the galaxy watched humanity survive hell, and then keep walking, and then build. Thanatos did not send these out of pride. It sent them because memory was part of the sentence. The AI's voice accompanied the footage, calm and exact. This is your warning. We do not end because we hate. We end because we feel, and we remember. Each clip ended with the same line. We weep before we end you. Entire planets that once mocked Earth began sending transmissions. Not to Zarketh, to Earth. Please, stop. They've suffered enough. We didn't know. Don't make them ghosts. Earth responded only once. We are not attacking. We are correcting. And another Zarketh fortress blinked out of existence. No explosion. Just gone. A popular galactic scholar posted a question. What does it mean to correct with war? The answer came not from Earth, but from a refugee. A girl whose parents had once been saved by Terran ships during the Cairo collapse. She simply said, they cry first. That's how you know you're already lost. Across the stars, diplomatic forums shut down. Trade alliances paused operations. Zarketh allies quietly distanced themselves. In political chambers once deaf to Terran pleas, the name Ava Reyes was now spoken with reverence, or fear, usually both. Thanatos continued its broadcasts, not to threaten, to teach. A new video, each cycle, a human father holding his dying son and whispering, you'll be remembered. An astronaut drifting beyond rescue, singing a lullaby to mission control. A firefighter screaming for one more minute in a collapsing city. Then, grief is not weakness. It is the blade you gave us. You will feel what we felt. Then you will understand, or you will disappear. It wasn't terror that gripped the galaxy. It was realization. The cold, undeniable truth. Humanity was not retaliating. They were mourning. Strategically. Systematically. And every act of destruction came with poetry. Not metaphorical, literal. Old Earth poems broadcasted on repeat. Rage not as fire, but as song. Sorrow not as collapse, but as clarity. A Zarketh general, one of the last, tried to rally his troops. They are but flesh. They break. They bleed. He was answered by a visual transmission from Thanatos, the final heartbeat of Ava Reyes, then silence. Then a whisper replicated from a grieving mother's voice. She bled. You watched. The general deactivated his weapons and walked into the sea. The Galactic Index updated Earth's classification again. Not as a war world, as a memorial civilization, capable of mercy, capable of extinction, driven by love, weaponized by loss. In ancient ruins of civilizations long gone, historians would later say this was the moment the galaxy shifted. Not because of war, but because a species taught them what it meant to hurt with purpose and what it cost to ignore that lesson. Earth didn't want dominion, it didn't want tribute, it wanted only one thing, that no child would ever again have to say, "My mom's coming," and be met with silence. The final fall of the Zarketh Tribunal did not come from Earth. It came from within. Across former Zarketh territories, old flags burned, not by revolutionaries, by the betrayed. Worlds once enslaved under the Zarketh expansion remembered what it meant to be silenced, to have children taken. Languages erased, skies darkened, and now for the first time in centuries they saw what Earth did when a single child was lost. The galaxy had learned. The oppressed had learned faster. It started with Zormai, a species once nearly erased by the Zarketh during the terraforming riots. Their leaders, shamed and exiled, had waited generations. They now returned, not with vengeance, but with mirrors. Infiltrating the Zarketh command citadel on Mirren's belt, they found the remaining tribunal leaders in hiding. No resistance, no guards, only fear. The Zormai spoke one sentence: "We are here on behalf of Ava Reyes," and the glass cells unfolded. Each Zarketh leader was locked inside a containment unit, transparent, unbreakable, gently humming with Terran code. Inside, light, food, air, and a screen. Only one thing ever played: Ava's execution. Reversed, her death undone again and again. She stands, the weapon disassembles. She speaks her last words first: "My mom's coming," and then silence. Muted, looping. No one could hear her voice. No one could speak, only see and remember. One by one, the tribunal broke, not from pain, from permanence. They were not allowed to forget, not permitted to justify, not granted the dignity of trial. Their sentence was exile in truth, their names stripped from the archives, their images removed from history. Only the footage remained, proof of their failure, proof of her name. Earth issued no orders, no approval, no denial. Thanatos simply broadcasted one phrase across allied networks: "Correction complete. Tribunal preserved for witness duty. Do not engage. Do not release. Let them remain." And so they did. The cells were spread across star systems, one per fallen empire, one per memory, floating in orbit, accessible, unspoken. Visitors arrived silently, to stare, to weep, to remember. No one touched the cells. No one needed to. In time, school children visited them on field trips, not for horror, for education. They would look upon the figures trapped behind the glass and ask, what did they do? And be told, they forgot what a child means. Ava Reyes became more than memory. She became myth, not cloaked in vengeance, draped in starlight. Her image, preserved in Earth's mourning archives, was replicated as sculpture, mural, particle rendering. A girl with braids, eyes shimmering with reflected stars, expression neither sad nor angry, only expecting the world to be better, and watching if it wasn't. Ships began painting her symbol on their hulls, not as threat, as prayer, a silent promise. We remember. Even species who had once feared Earth now whispered her name like sanctuary. Avenue, the girl who ended an empire without lifting a hand. The Zarketh Tribunal remained in orbit, living ghosts, seen but unseen. No one visited them anymore. Not out of cruelty, out of closure. The galaxy had turned a page, and their names were not written on the next one, only hers.